You know, I've been thinking a lot lately about the difference between holding a title and actually leading people. And what I want to tell you, that difference is everything. We live in a world that hands out titles like party favors, director of this, vice president of that, chief executive of the other thing, and somewhere in all of that, we have started to confuse the nameplate on the door with the work being done on the other side of it. But every now and then, and I mean every now and then, you meet someone who never confused two things. Someone who understood almost from the very beginning that the real measure of a leader is not what they are called, but what they leave behind in the lives of the people they walked alongside. That kind of leader is not just rare, that kind of leader is precious. And today I'm grateful, genuinely, deeply grateful that one of them is here with us. I want to take a moment and think with you about the landscape of workforce development in this country, because there's an infrastructure holding this nation together that does not get nearly enough credit, a quiet, steady, often invisible network of human beings who wake up every single morning and go to work for one purpose: to connect the other human beings to opportunity, to dignity, and to the economic possibility that ought to be available to every person who draws breath in this country. These are the people who sit across the table from someone who has been told no so many times they have almost stopped asking, and they say, "Let me help you find a way." That work does not make the news. It does not trend on social media, but I am convinced it is some of the most important work being done in America today, and the people who have dedicated their careers to it deserve to be seen. I also want to talk about the entrepreneurial spirit because I think we sometimes misunderstand it. We celebrate the outcome, the launch, the press release, the growth chart going up and to the right. But what we do not talk about enough is what entrepreneurship actually is at its core. It's an act of belief. It is the audacious decision to look at the world as it is and say, I believe something better is possible, and I believe I am the person to build it. And more than that, the very best entrepreneurs, the ones who build things that matter and last, are doing it not just for themselves. They're doing it because they believe the people around them deserve to benefit from what they create. That conviction, that belief in others as much as in yourself, that is not a business strategy. That is a calling. And then there is, in particular courage it takes to be a servant leader. I want to sit with that phrase for a second because I think it gets used a lot without people fully reckoning with what it demands. A servant leader does not measure their success by what they have accumulated. They measure it by who they have elevated. They show up not to be seen, but to be useful, not to be served, but to serve. And here is what makes that so rare. In a culture that almost universally rewards itself promotion, self-advancement, and self-interest, choosing the path of genuine service requires a kind of countercultural courage that most people will never fully understand. The servant leader is not always the loudest person in the room, but they are almost always the reason the room is better than it would have been without them. Today's guest is that kind of person. Antonio Durham is a passionate leader, a workforce development advocate, and an entrepreneur whose life's work is rooted in a conviction so simple and so powerful it almost takes your breath away. That leadership is not about titles, it is about influence, service, and empowering others to reach their full potential. Everything he has built, everything he advocates for, every room he walks into, it is all an expression of that one belief. He does not lead from above, he leads from within, from the inside out. So I want to invite you to do something with me today. I want to invite you to slow down, to put down whatever else is competing for your attention on this Sunday afternoon, and to lean in, really lean in to the story of one person who decided that his life was going to mean something, not because of what he achieved, but because of what he gave. Stories like Antonio's are the reason this show exists. They are the reason I sit in this chair every week, because I deeply personally believe that when we hear each other's real stories, something in us remembers what we are capable of. We need that and reminder more than ever. Welcome to CK Stories from the Heart. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and today we are about to have a conversation that I know is going to stay with you. Let's go and let's welcome Antonio Durham to the stage. Hello, sir.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you so much. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get going into the show?
We about to have a good show. We about to have a good conversation. So let's get to it, man. I brought some good information for you, for everybody.
Yes, sir. I definitely appreciate that. So, what I like to start with is like what I do with every show. Is I like to start with people getting the opportunity to know a whole lot more about you before we talk about all the great works that you're doing. And this is what I call your personal story, your life story, and your journey. So, if you could take us back to the beginning, where did Antonio Durham come from, and what did life look like before the titles, the work, and the mission? Give us the picture of where you started.
So honestly, it wasn't too much. It was like really just learning from everybody. Like I had a chance to learn from everybody. You know, when it came to my mom, sister, family. I had a chance to learn from everybody. I'm from West Greenville, the West Greenville side of Greenville. So we all had a village. You know, it was just a village. I learned from everybody. You know, a lot of people kept me out of trouble. A lot of people kept me out of trouble. I didn't. I didn't. So I got to understand how the older generation seen the world, the perspective of the world, and how how the workforce was. So I was always around that. Still didn't understand a lot. Still bumped my head a lot. That's how it is. But I still got to understand what it was to live. In different times and different generational gaps. So I got a good bit of that. Um, I heard a lot. I heard a lot from how people were getting treated. I heard a lot from how a lot of people would say, "Hey, they won't let you do this." Who was they? I had to figure out who they was. It took a long time to understand who they was. So I it was like a lot of breakdown, through life. Whatever. When finally I went to Job Corps. When I went to Job Corps, I seen another side of confidence, and just able to figure out what I wanted to do, like who I was. I want to know who I was, but I also want to know who everybody else was. You know, I wanted to figure out who this type of person was. So it was easy. I started putting people in categories because it was just that easy. So yeah, it just life, man. Just life. Life happens like that.
And so I want to thank each and every individual that's tuned in right now. I hope you guys are enjoying the show, and I need you guys to make sure that you are as active as possible with the show by putting your comments in the chat. Who was the first person in your life who looked at you and genuinely believed in your potential? And what did that belief do to you? How did it change the way you saw yourself?
Man, it was a lot of people. Honestly, it was like because like okay, so I had when I used to do music. So like when I first started doing music, like that was my introduction to a mass of people. So it was just
Mm-hmm.
like I had these people that were just like, hey, I didn't even know that a lot of people come to like, hey man, like I like your words, your songs, but I still didn't understand. I still didn't understand. I thought I was just doing something. Um, I was able to, just keep people entertained. I like to, just keep people entertained with words. So it was a mass of people, but like I do gotta give it to my guy Kelly Blaze. He was my mentor for a long time, and he used to always just tell me like, hey, this is impactful, this is powerful what you're doing. But I still, like I said, I still didn't understand. I didn't know. I thought it was just genuine. Like it wasn't nothing that I was trying to do. You know, when somebody say, hey, I'm trying to do this, like you're doing it. You're doing it, and to me, honestly, like if you're doing it genuinely, to me, when everybody is around me and they say, "Hey, I believe in you, changed my life," it's still genuine. Like it's still like it's just something that I do. Like it's in me to give to people. So that's how that changed me. Like to see somebody say, "Hey, you changed my life," or you did this for me. That does something for me.
I'm assuming that these are maybe some folk that are here to support you. Here's one person. I'm putting it on the screen here. They're saying hello. This is Lizette, and this is um, someone else that is saying hello. And
Excuse me. Sorry about
and
that.
there's quite a few people here that are saying hello.
Oh yeah, hey, listen. I'm glad y'all came. Listen, y'all get to see a good message. I appreciate everybody for showing up, showing out for me.
So tell us about a moment in your life when everything felt uncertain, when the path ahead was not clear, the ground beneath you was unsteady, and you were not quite sure how it was going to work out. What did you hold onto to get through it?
That honestly, that's when somebody look at you and say anybody, um, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding means so much. Keep grinding. So to me, I held on to a grind that like of consistency. Don't stop. So it's like even if I felt like something was going on, I had my people that I could just call. Um, I can maybe just call. I could say brother-in-law Josh Talley. Just different people. EJ. I always had a small circle. David Smith. I had those people in my circle that could just be like, keep going. And those are people that was grinding too as well. Keep going until something happened. I never looked at it honestly. This is honest to God truth. I've never looked at it like, hey, I'm about to be down bad, because I had those people in my corner.
Okay.
So it's like, and that to honestly like that might sound so bad, but it's true. Like so people,
Well,
I had somebody tell me one day just like, Tony, you don't have to be broke. Like you don't have to be. Get out there and just keep grinding. Like just keep doing what you're doing. So I still remember those words. Like, yeah,
Well,
like you said.
I think when you have a strong foundation like that, and it allows you to have that at easement, so that you can always just focus on what it is that you're doing. But can you tell us, in the process of having, that kind of support system where the ground is always sturdy beneath your feet? Has there ever been a point at some time that there were some things that was off a little bit, where you had to think about them and move forward to get things to working right, or things was just always free flowing and great for you?
It was never great. Um, I say that, like, it was never great. It's one of those things where it's like you can't have people around you that's negative. You can't. You cannot have nobody around you that's negative, because, like, first of all, like, that right there does something to your soul. If your soul don't feel good about the person that you're around, you're not gonna be right. Like, you could be. I had a stroke 2 years ago, right? And
Yes.
the people that was around me, even people from, like, old job, positions and all that, the people that was around me, they called, and I was able to get up and walk, and I think it was because of the people that was around me that was keeping me positive. So, like, it's just, you have to keep people that are around you that's positive. That way your brain can say, hey, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this way. If you tell somebody, nah, I don't think we're gonna work, guess what? Your brain gonna believe it.
Mhm.
It's a belief system.
Right.
It's a good
Well,
assumption.
look, I have another great comment for you here in the chat that you can respond to. I'll put it on the screen for you. This says that you have made a lot of people that have seen your progress. I've been lucky enough to see your grind and vision. You're a motivation to people you pass, including myself.
Man, see, like, when I hear stuff like that, that's Josh. I like that's Josh. I just shout him out. When I see stuff like that, it's just like, and he's the same way. Like, he's he's another one. He just, like, just keep grinding. My wife's the same way. My wife, she just keep grinding. Like, it's always a grind, man. It just
Mhm.
it's just always a push. Like, like, you can sit there and do nothing and drown for the rest of your life, or you could do something and keep pushing. Just keep pushing. That's all it is. Keep pushing. Stay positive. It's not always, like I said, when I tell you, like, it's not always great behind the scenes. It's not always great. You can end up falling, but at the same time, like, just keep it going. You know.
And here's another hi. This is Rachel DeJesus. And so, can you tell us, what did you learn about leadership from watching the people around you growing up? Both the good examples and the ones that showed you what not to do. Who were your early models, and how did they shape your understanding of what it means to lead?
So, okay, so I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna answer that in a different way. You mind if I answer that in a different way?
Yes, sir.
My first leadership job, man, I tore that thing up.
Mhm.
I wanted control. I wanted to be, I just wanted to, I was making everybody mad. I was making everybody angry. You know, people started walking off the job. they they
Oh.
was leaving. Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. I tore that job up. I got to really sit back and evaluate. Because I got fired as well. So when I went to another job, I was like, "Nah, I got to do this again because I didn't do this right the first time." So I feel like myself, my mom too as well. Like, she put it in me to keep a smile on your face. But
Mhm.
when I got into that position, I got to evaluate everything I was going through. Um, so when I got to do it again, I I went and started checking all the pain points from the employees. I
Mhm.
wanted to know. I wanted to know what these people feel like. I want to get to know them first before I did anything. I started noticing that some of them come home. I watched a guy, go in the parking lot and unalive himself because I feel like if I had got to him to talk to him, then it wouldn't happen.
Oh
I just
wow.
yeah. I feel like if I had got to him and been able to talk to him, but like I say, not to just go to him and say, hey, this is I'm the person you need to talk to. No, it was just conversation. So I could say that I was able to understand myself as a leader, to be my own role model, to keep pushing and just showing people the grind genuinely, not going to them and just saying, hey, this is how you should do it. Or I started learning active listening. When I started learning active listening, stuff became a lot more clear. My perspective was different about employees. I was able to turn, a part of my organization into gold. So I was my own role model.
So
So I
at
mean,
what moment,
you as well.
so at what moment did you realize that your life was about developing other people? That this was not just something you were good at, but something you were made for? Was there a specific conversation, experience, or turning point?
Just having conversation with people and just listening. Um, I can say now, just like I had. I mean, it's so I like to teach by definition, right? So one thing I like to do, I like to go and dig into. I like to take people down rabbit holes of definitions. One of my big definitions, one of my words is suppose. We'll get to that later though. So making people understand a word instead of scratching the surface. That was the first conversation I had with somebody to say, "Hey man, that worked." And this was a high caliber guy.
Right.
Like this was somebody that somebody that was normal would say they won't let you do that because he's up there. He's across the hallway, like he right there. But those were one of those persons. That was one of those people that would say, "Hey, I was able to this changed me. This did something for me. Thank you." And now, and it kept happening. It kept happening. It didn't just happen one time. It kept happening. Like it was just like every conversation. So now it's like another conversation. It's like, hey, I get to do it again. I get to do it again. I get to listen to somebody. I get to give them. I don't give advice, but we just go down the rabbit hole. So that's every conversation.
So, what has been the hardest season of your life, personally or professionally, and how did walking through it shape the leader, the advocate, and the human being you are today?
I want to say the hardest season. It might be every day. And the reason why I say that is because it's like it's always a new challenge. It's always a new challenge that you face. When you come across a new challenge, it's kind of like, okay, now I got to figure out how I can problem solve this right here. So it's like every challenge comes with its own challenges. Every challenge comes with its own problem solving challenge. Everything comes with a different perspective. Myself being a leader, it's like you don't even know what's coming next. You don't know when you wake up what's going to be the next thing, especially when you're going if workforce, personal, everything. You just don't know what's coming next, but you got to keep a smile on your face. You got to, because if you let that
If,
smile go down, it's just over.
if the younger version of you could see where you are today, the work you're doing, the people you are serving, the life you have built, what do you think he would say? And what would you say back to him?
Man, he didn't even know. He didn't even know. You know what? He didn't even have a purpose.
Mhm.
I kind of just kept walking into the purpose. I didn't even know. I
Mhm.
didn't even know. Like it was just like I told you. I think we talked. You know, I told you I was like, man, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I believe. You know,
Mhm.
and the reason why I say that because you got. I mean, adolescence started at 10 years old. You know, you start building relationships. You start realizing what relationship look like. You start realizing that you can coordinate, that you can even be strong. Yeah, if I knew if I thought that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, if I told my younger self that, I think my younger self probably would have ran.
Mm. That's
Just
interesting.
yeah, like that. As soon as I would have told him, hey, this is what we're doing, go on. I would, like I say, I just don't know. If it's genuine, you grow into it. If it's not, you're gonna try. And trying does not mean that you're doing something. I mean you're trying something.
Right.
Figure out who you is and grow into it.
So let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneur's heart and building with purpose. Um, Walk us through the moment you decided to bet on yourself as an entrepreneur. The moment you said, "I'm going to build this." What were you risking, and what were you believing in, and what gave you the courage to take that first step?
Man, you asking all the right questions. I love it. So I, betting on yourself is an assumption.
Mhm.
It's like the word suppose. Suppose came out. I'm talking about it's that word suppose and assumption. It'll do a lot to you if you let it. It can almost do a lot to society and entrepreneurship. People went to work and realized how work was treating them versus how entrepreneurship was treating them. So it's like, hey, something has to be better. I think you said it. Something has to be better, right? And that's what my mind was. Something has to be better. Like I'm gonna get out here and get my own stuff. But then I was risking my peace. I was risking my stability. I was risking, man, knowledge. Because honestly, when you step out and do something on your own, you don't read about it. You don't even know what's coming. You don't read. You go. You follow assumptions. You figure out because now it's like I assume that I can get more than what this job is teaching me. I assume that's what I can do. I assume that I can be better than my position right now. I assume that. Nobody looks at the word assumption. Nobody looks at the word assume. Assume, like I say, it's really it's not a fact. Assume is not a fact. Suppose is not a fact. A fact is only a fact. You can never say, "Hey, it's a fact that I'm gonna go out there and do my own thing. I'm gonna build my own. I'm gonna build my own work. I'm gonna build my own, ceiling." It's an assumption. So I follow the assumption. So I didn't even know when I assumed that I go out there and be better for myself. I didn't know that. I just went out there and I did it, just like anybody else that's doing good, and they still have to assume that they can get this check 3 months down the line.
So, with the work you're doing, are you doing this work from a purpose perspective, or are you doing it from the leisure, casual situations of just thinking that this is what I have to do to help for the betterment of all the people or just for mankind? Because I think because the difference between the two is this: when we think about purpose, if it's purpose driven, then that means that you've taken on something that you saw that you wanted to course correct, fix, and be a better part of. And if you're just doing it from the other side, from just a moral compass, then it's like, okay, well, I've done what I'm supposed to do to help these people. Which side is it for you?
I'm on the more purpose side. I have to fulfill my purpose so somebody else can fulfill a purpose too. So it's like I can't go into. I know, like I have a job is a job, right? And everybody sticks to their job accordingly. me, I cannot just go in and be a leader and not change somebody's life so they can fulfill a purpose as well. That gives me purpose. So it's like, if I'm able to change somebody's perspective on life, that's my purpose. That's my and it feels good every time. But now it's like, this it's a God given skill now. It's a skill, So it's I'm able to listen and conversate, and that's all it takes. Communication. That's all it takes. Just a little bit of communication. You can change somebody's life fast.
And so, what is the thing about building your own vision that no one warns you about? The part that does not show up in the business books, the podcast, or the motivational posts. What were you not prepared for?
I wasn't prepared for the feedback. The feedback was different.
Oh wow! Why was the feedback different?
Because you just never know what's gonna happen. Like, you can put something out. Like, you can put something out right now. Like, next thing you know, you don't know what somebody's gonna say. Honestly, when I was putting out feedback, I think I was just really just doing it for myself. I wasn't even doing it for everybody. It was just for myself. But people say stuff.
Right.
You gotta be ready for what people gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some negative. I've had some positive. I had a lot of positive. I had a lot of negative. But you gotta be ready for that. But you also gotta be ready to listen too, because it's not always about your perspective. It's not always about that. You have to. If somebody say, "Hey, nah, that's wrong. It's supposed to be this way," you gotta be like, "Okay, can you fill me in so I know? Let me hear you." So I wasn't ready for the feedback, but now it's like, hey, hey, throw it to me. I like it. I like it. I like all the, But if you can't explain it, then we both got to go back and try to figure out if we can explain it or not. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out.
So when it comes to, the people that are watching you today, for those that don't know you and getting to understand this work that you do and the person that you are, what are some of the things that you want them to understand about the positives, the negatives, the pluses, and the minuses in their everyday life that they can expect? And what are some of the processes you think that can help those things, that help those situations, so that if it does take someone like yourself to help them, they can be ready?
Just understand you, man. Just try. Oh, one thing about it is, don't judge people. Don't judge people. That's you. You cannot judging people is scratching the surface. That's scratching the surface. You can look at a block, scratch the surface. You're not gonna get none off of it because you're not gonna get no shavings. You're not gonna get none of that. It's gonna just be a metal block. But once you put a little welding stick on that thing and dig in, you'll find out a lot. So don't judge people. Don't judge people, because it's like, you never know. I've heard somebody say, "Hey, you never know what somebody been through." It's not even about that. It's not about that. You gotta dig in. You gotta know what somebody's mind is about. You gotta know how strong points. My employees I got now, like, it's I like to dig into strong points and use them for their strong point. That way they are able to be used for something, because everybody got like a unique. They bring different skills. They bring different walks of life. Like, so and that's why I challenge the workforce. I do challenge the workforce on stuff like that, because it's just like, it's different type of people, and people can get used for themselves, for different skills in life. So,
So when you mentioned your employees, for instance, like, do you have like casual conversations with your employees? If so, what are those conversations like, and how does that make them feel?
they feel needed. They feel wanted. Um, they feel like they belong. They feel like a part of the organization. They even feel a part of life. I've had people walk in just down bad. Um, and now he's one of the best communicators ever. You know, every now and then I always have like a little teacher session. I always have a teacher session. Just because I watch them. I kind of listen to like some of their conversations. So I kind of dig into it. Behind the scenes, I'm over there writing. While I'm listening to them, I'm writing something that maybe could. I might show TEDx. I love TEDx. That's my go-to. I go to, I show them TEDx videos. I do a lot of communication exercises. So I make them feel a part. I'm not just some regular employee. Somebody who is not knowledgeable. Um, I think my guys even feel like they incorporate themselves. I want you to feel like that.
So, can you tell us, how do you stay anchored to your why when the weight of building something gets genuinely heavy, when the doubt creeps in, the resources run thin, or the progress feels slower than you hoped?
Oh, because the thing is, you can't rush nothing. Once you rush it, you done.
Mhm.
You can't try to get in the front of the race because you done after that. You're gonna get too far ahead of yourself. So with me, like I say, I like learning, and I teach my guys how to like learning. That's my purpose. Keep learning, like learning, love learning. Because once you do, like, then you're gonna rush into something else. Like what? But basically, I did this. I went and I got into something I didn't want to be into, like which career wise, because I was rushing. I didn't take my time to learn it. I didn't take my time to understand it. I just rushed. I rushed right on in, and it was very, very, very stressful. Take your time and earn your peace.
So, tell us about a time your entrepreneur journey taught you something about yourself that genuinely surprised you. A strength you did not know you had, a limitation you had to confront, or the truth about who you are at the process as the process revealed.
I knew that I could communicate and talk. I knew I could. I knew I can go out there and grind.
Mhm.
I knew that. That's one thing. I knew I can go out there and have a conversation with somebody and change a perspective. You know, it was all about changing the perspective. Like it's get out there and I figured out I was like one of the best salesmen ever, and that's just because I can have a conversation. It was easy.
So, what does success look like to you as an entrepreneur? Not the version you put on a pitch deck, but the real definition, the one you actually measure yourself against. And how has that definition evolved over time?
That's a good question. Um, Success to me is when you can go home and sleep at night.
Mhm.
You don't have to go home and stress. Everything is going as planned because you planned it. You can go home. You don't have to be mad at the kids. You go home, and just sit on the back porch for a while. You don't have to go home because first of all, success to me, I think it starts with communication.
Okay.
Take off some of those hats.
Mhm.
Let everybody else feel success too.
Mhm.
Let the people around you feel success too because they working as well. So that's why I say success, like holding everybody accountable, even yourself, because everybody else around you feels successful too.
So, so as you think about that, and you mentioned that you want everyone to feel the success. Like, how does that work in real time? Does that mean that you're actually just delving off the responsibilities and accountabilities to a lot of the people that work for you as they have tasks that you assign them? Or is that just a point of bringing them into the whole entire process that you do your work? and them being a part of it makes them feel that much more comfortable.
No, no, I'm gonna tell you, you can give somebody a task all day, but they might not know how to do it. You can try to hold somebody accountable for something, but they don't know how to do it. You got to teach. You have to make something. You have to, you build a bear.
Okay.
You got to teach. You got to build somebody. Watch them, find the strong points, and build on it, and then show them how to build on that. So then, when the next person comes, it's like if you build an organization. What you got? You got all these tasks. You don't have employees. You got tasks. Like you say, you got tasks, right? You learn strong points, then you build on them. So like if you try to do it yourself, it's terrible. It's terrible because it's like you didn't you didn't show nobody how to do it. You didn't teach nobody. You didn't even fulfill a purpose because the purpose was just to get some money. Chasing a dollar
So,
won't to put you right there to a slow death, basically.
so what would you say to someone who is sitting right now at the edge of their own entrepreneurship leap? Someone who has the vision, they have the passion, but they are held back by fear. What would you want them to hear from you today?
Oh, it'll be a deep conversation. Let's start over. Let's start over. Let's learn it first. Let's see let's see what you want to do. Like, let me hear what you want to do first. That way we can organize it. Because fear, really, when it starts in the mind, it's like the reason why you have a fear is because you just don't understand it. If you don't understand it, you don't know it, you don't do it.
Right.
So if you push yourself into that right there, now you're jumping off a bridge. Come on back. Let's go back over it again. Let's organize it. Let's get some marketing done. Let's get some books read. Let's look at some definition. Let's get a good website if you want to start there. But now let's not do a website either. Let's get to the understanding first. Let's read some books. I got you on the back end.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your workforce development advocating for the possible. Because I thought that this is the one part I think that, for especially today's times, when you have someone that's an advocate in workforce development, man, that speaks high volumes. Tell us what workforce development really means to you. Not the textbook definition, not the grant application language, but what it means when you are in it, living it, doing it every day. How do you describe it from the inside?
Workforce development to me is like developing the people and putting people first. Um, to me, I feel like people over process is more important than process over people, which that needs to be challenged because that workforce development actually started in 1960s. When it started in 1960s, it was one of the things where it's like it was process over people. 2026, you're gonna have a lot of people walking out the doors because you're not putting people first. The people is what makes the organization together. You could have one of the a major company, a major occupant, but if you're not putting people first, you're not building on people. You're not checking on workplace anxiety. You're not checking on people anxieties because a lot of stuff can happen. That's what needs to be addressed.
So, who is the person or the type of person you do this work for? If you had to paint us a picture of who you are really fighting for every single day, what would that picture look like?
It's the people, man. It's always the people. It's the working class. It's the working class, and I don't care what position that is. Everybody needs some development because honestly, it's historically not updated. It's just like I said, back in 1960, it was popular. It was popularized in 1960. Um, by Theodore Schultz and Gary Beckner. That's who made it popular. So they still do a process over people. It's a process over people, workforce. So
Okay.
it's kind of like investing in a machine. It's kind of like investing in, but it's not investing in people.
Mhm. Wow.
Technology. It's not investing in people. That's why I say I really feel like workforce, the workforce anxiety should be a big topic. This is this is important. People, you have supervisors, you have management, you have all of that that's trickle down. That's not even learning people and what they do. They're not building those skills. Like they look at KPIs like, hey, this is a KPI, but not knowing that people is behind that KPI.
Let me ask you this because I think that you said something that really caught my attention when you say that people that this is not being addressed, but how large this is. Can you tell us in I guess the best terms or the best phrasing as possible as to when you think of workforce development and you think of people in general and how that should be, what makes workforce development our driving point going into the future?
So, like I say, it's the people. Like you have to build on skills. You have to build on. Okay, so a couple questions. How can we develop our employees? Easy question. You have how can we support them? Simple.
Okay.
How can we support them? We got how can we make them more confident? How can we create an environment where they can succeed? That's workforce development right now. But if you're developing these machines, um, the computers, if you're just worried about that part, that's not workforce development. That's that's organization development. That has nothing to do with the people. And so the management needs to be trained. The supervisors need to be trained. The employees need to be trained on how to see red flags and anxiety. Because a lot of people go to work and don't even know if they're gonna have a job the next day. They're not safe. They need to feel safe. You got to ask people like, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Anybody? Do you feel safe? And I can tell you now, at least 80% of the people will say I do not feel safe. 20% of the people are supervisors because they don't even understand. They just have people that they over, but they don't understand management. They're not managers, but they just it's that they need to be trained. Like it's definitely like a corporate and employee training that people that has to do a lot with workforce development.
Um, what do most people from fundamentally misunderstood? What do most people fundamentally misunderstand about workforce development and the communities it serves? And what do they wish they understood instead?
So this when we was talking about the word suppose, the word suppose, like I say, it definitely means that it's not even a real thing. It's an assumption, right?
Right.
Nobody has ever challenged the status quo because the status quo is what it is. People would say it is what it is, right? But nobody has ever challenged it. Nobody has ever said, well, why not this part? Like, why not do it this way? Why is safety not this way? Why, nobody has ever challenged it. So people need to understand that the word suppose, you're supposed to be doing like this, you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing this. It's not a fact. You can actually rewrite the status quo if you want to in your own way. You can do it. You can rewrite the status quo. It don't have to be like, and that's what I said. I think people need to understand the status quo and the word suppose because it's been doing a lot to the workforce.
So when you speak of that, And and with that being something that's not real, what can people do in order to make this more tangible, more real? What do they have to do in order to show and to prove that what they're speaking is truthful and factual?
Get the facts. Stop assuming.
Hmm.
That's all you got to do. Listen to people.
Hmm.
Start listening. Start doing research. That's the only way you're gonna be able to know. Research. Stop assuming. Listen. Evaluate. Implement. That's only 5 steps.
So tell us about a transformation you witnessed in someone you worked with, a moment when you saw a person step into their potential in a way that reminded you powerfully and unmistakably that none of this work is in vain. What happened?
Ooh wee. I don't even want to say his name because I'm telling you. But he is making me
You don't
proud.
have to say the name. You don't have to say the name.
Yeah, he's making me. I would. This guy. He told me that a lot of people would just didn't believe in him. He didn't. Nobody believed in him. Everybody called him stupid. You know. Um. So it kind of made him lose his way. He stepped into this thing as just coming to get a job. Little did he know, he's walking around right now. Like I said it earlier, one of the best communicators ever. And he just told me today, man, thank you for believing in me, man. You know, thank you for believing in me. There's another guy, there's a couple other guys just like, hey, man, like you changed my life, and it's only just because I just listened. All I did was listen. I didn't give a whole bunch of people don't like advice. That's one thing about adult learning. People do not like advice. You have to let people walk themselves into their own situation. Like you gotta let the people walk themselves into their own problem solving. You can't just give advice. You can't especially if you're not. Even professionals don't give advice. They don't. Nobody gives advice. Just listen. You gotta just listen to them.
You believe deeply that leadership is about influence and service rather than titles. What does it look like specifically and practically to live that philosophy out in your workforce development work? And why does it matter that the leaders in this space lead that way?
So like you said, servant leader, you have to serve somebody's purpose. You have to be willing to serve somebody else's purpose. Feed their purpose too as well. So you have to be willing to um, give a little bit of soul to give a little bit of soul to somebody else. F- Fill up them soul.
Okay.
Fill up that soul account. You'll get
All
something back in
right.
return.
So, what is the biggest gap you see right now between the workforce systems we have in place and the workforce systems our communities actually need? If you could change one thing about how we approach workforce development in this country, what would it be?
It will be the mind. It'll be the perspective. It'll be the perspectives there because everybody judge as soon as you see a different perspective. I would change understanding and perspectives. That way you can understand the next person you can understand the next person beside you. Because like everybody's unique in their own different way. So once you understand that person and once you understand a different perspective, man, it makes you so powerful.
If you could leave every single person watching today with one message, one truth, about their own potential and what is possible for their life, what would you want them to carry with them when the conversation is over?
To me, honestly, like I always say, I tell people keep doing what you're doing and just listen. Just listen. Do some research. I always research. Do not go and think that Google is about to tell you every truth. Don't do that. I always look at peer review. Everything has to be peer reviewed. Everything. If it's not peer reviewed, do not Google something because it's not facts. Get away from the word supposed. I want you to challenge the status quo. Always challenge the status quo. Do not go to the word supposed. Everything somebody told you that you're supposed to do.
Looks like we just lost Mr. Durham. Um, Let me see if we can get him back. So let me just say, I hope that you guys got a lot of good information from Mr. Durham. I'm going to go ahead and do my monologue and close the show. But before I do, well, it looks like he's trying to get back in. Mr. Durham? So, at any rate, for those of you that are watching on all of our channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I would appreciate if you would go ahead and do so. And please, subscribe to the channels because what you'll be able to get is each and every one of the shows when we go live. You guys will get that notification and you are able to watch the show live, as well as you'll be able to go back to each of our platforms and you will be able to watch all of the great work of all of our great leaders that have come here to the show. And it would just allow you to have that much better access to the work that we do. And we definitely would appreciate if you would do it. So let me go ahead and let me just close the show. And in closing the show, I want to say this to you guys first, and that is that I want to sit in this for just a moment before we close, because there are conversations that inform you, and then there are conversations that move you, and Antonio Durham just gave us one of the second kind. To our guest today, thank you. Thank you for showing up fully. Thank you for not giving us the polished, rehearsed version of your story. Thank you for giving us the real one, the one that includes the hard seasons, the uncertain moments, the quiet convictions that keep you going when nobody was watching. You did not just talk about servant leadership today, you embodied it. You gave us your time, your truth, and your heart. And that is the most generous thing one person can offer another. We do not take that lightly. There were so many threads running through today's conversation that I want to hold on to. But let me name just a few. First, that leadership from the inside out, the kind Antonio practices, the kind rooted in genuine service rather than the pursuit of status, changes people in ways that titles simply cannot. A title can open a door, but a leader who truly invests in you that can change the entire trajectory of a life. Second, that workforce development is not a program or a policy. It is one of the most sacred expressions of community love available to us. It is of saying, I see your potential, I believe in your future, and I'm going to walk with you towards it. In a world that often feels extractive and transactional, that kind of advocacy is a revolutionary act. And third, that the entrepreneurial spirit at its very best is an act of faith, faith in yourself, yes, but also faith in the people you were put here to serve. Antonio built not for himself, but for others. And that changes everything about what he built and why it will last. I want to say something personal here because this show gives me the space to do that, and I believe in using it. Conversations like the one we just had are the reason CK Stories from the Heart exists. We live in a media landscape that is overwhelmed by noise, speed, and spectacle. And this show is my deliberate, committed, weekly act of resistance against all of that. I believe that the stories underneath the headlines, the real ones, the human ones, the ones about struggle and conviction and the slow, patient work of building something that matters. I believe those stories are what we are most hungry for, even when we do not know how to say so. Antonio Durham's story is one of those stories, and I'm grateful that on Sunday afternoon we got to slow down long enough to hear it. To everyone watching today, I want to leave you with something that I want you to carry into your week. Think about who in your life is waiting for someone to believe in them. The way Antonio was believed in, the way he goes on to believe in others. Think about whether there is a workforce need, a community gap, a human being in your own sphere of influence who could use a champion. And think about your own story, the real one, not the curated one, not the one you put on your profile, and consider that it too deserves to be told. You do not have to be a public figure for your story to matter. You just have to be willing to be honest about it. That honesty is what connects us. That honesty is what heals us. That is what CK Stories from the Heart is built on. The belief that every story matters, that every journey has something to teach us, that as long as we're willing to sit down, lean in, and truly listen to one another, not to respond, not to judge, but to actually hear, we are building something together that no title, no resume, and no algorithm can ever replicate. We're building community, we're building understanding, we're building the kind of world where people like Antonio Durham are not the exception, they are the standard. I am Charles Zachary King. This has been CK Stories from the Heart. Thank you for being here. We will see you next Sunday.